Hey guys, how's it going? This is the Power Gunner, and welcome to Infamous Second Age Power Ideas number 667. You know what? This phone is still here. I don't even understand. I mean, it's not even plugged in to the wall or anything. Nah. Probably broke it. That's probably a good thing. Anyways, in today's episode, our power idea comes from another patron, this time from Franny. And his power idea is clothes. So clothes are something that's very important to everyday life. As you can tell, I'm wearing clothes right now. Maybe a few too many. And some of the clothes that I'm wearing are Delson's clothes. Some of them are Cole's clothes. Some of them is just DUP Infamous merch. Gotta rep that brand and keep the series alive. But how would a clothes power work in an Infamous game? Well, first off, Delson needs somewhere to drain the clothes. So he's going to drain them from people who are on the street. That's right, he can go right up to them and suck their clothes off of them into his body. Or onto his body. Now, I know what you're thinking. Does this mean that the game would have nudity in it and get an M rating? Yes. Everyone likes to see naked people, okay? If you say you don't, you're lying. Plus, I think Infamous can deal with an M rating. After all, it's M for mature, and all Infamous fans are very mature. So once you have derobed some unwilling pedestrians, what do you do with the clothing power? Well, you can use it to change Delson's appearance. Maybe you're sort of sick of Delson always wearing his hipster vest. I mean, I'm not sick of wearing mine, but maybe you are. Well, now you can have on all types of clothes, which I think is the coolest superpower we've had on this show yet. This is basically like X-ray vision, because, you know, you get to see people naked, but there's the added benefit of getting to customize Delson to wear whatever you want him to wear. Also, you may have noticed that in most of my previous concept art, Delson isn't wearing clothes to begin with. So this is how you have to put clothes onto him. That's right, his default is nude. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching Infamous Second Age Power Ideas number 667. And remember, if you would like your power ideas featured in this series, you can pay me a small fee of $10 and I will put it in your series. Just go to my Patreon page, it's right there. You can help me save Infamous. We'll save Infamous together. We can't let the series die. We gotta keep it going, guys. Come on. And don't forget to orbital drop that like button. Someone got mad at me because in one of the previous episodes I said comment drop even though I did the orbital drop animation. Okay? I know I'm the biggest Infamous fan there is. Sometimes I make mistakes too. Please stop being mean. What's up, gamers and Swifties? Welcome back to the MADMAN'S Knowledge Show. The show where I don't make videos, except for a few times a year, even though I want to make them more often. This is also the show where I'm not a gaming channel, but now I'm going to talk about video games, because I still play video games, even though the focus of my channel isn't video games anymore, like it used to be like 4 years ago or something. And this is my favorite video games! I'm so excited! Alright kids, let's get into this. I'm gonna talk about I think 15 games or so that I would consider to be like my all-time favorite games, and a few others that I played recently just because I played them recently. Also, I have a backlogged and a letterboxd. So if anyone wants to follow them, that's what they are. Basically, they kind of keep track of what movies and video games you've seen, and I write some little reviews and stuff on there. So yeah. Okay, so I have not played that many video games for the past year or so, but just recently a few have been coming out that I am actually interested in playing. One of those games is Elden Ring. I have not played it yet, so I'm not going to talk about it in this video. Another one of those games is Horizon Forbidden West, which I did play for 100 hours, so I guess that tells you that I must have really liked it. And it's sort of unfortunate that that game came out a week before Elden Ring, because I think a lot of people aren't giving it as much attention now, so I wanted to spotlight it at least a little bit. Horizon Forbidden West is the sequel to Horizon Forbidden Dawn. Both games in the series are open world semi-RPG games that aren't really RPGs but have a few RPG elements in them, where you go around and you fight a bunch of robot animals and dinosaurs. And hey, there's actually a pretty cool mystery story going on as well. The series feels like a mixture of sci-fi and fantasy, and I think it ends up being more and more sci-fi the more you get into the story of the games. But there is the element of these tribal people who live on Earth like a millennium after everyone on Earth died. Anyways, I won't spoil like how that happened if someone here hasn't played the first game and you want to, because I do recommend both games. Forbidden West is better. There's just a lot of like little improvements to the gameplay that add up and just, I thought, made it a much more enjoyable game to simply play. Not that Zero Dawn was bad at all, because I really liked it as well. But Forbidden West is like definitely something more special, and that also comes into play with the story, which blew me away in some aspects. In terms of the mystery and like science fiction portions of the story, it followed up on things that were like very subtly set up in the first game very well. I was very pleased with how it turned out, and maybe I shouldn't mention this, but years ago, I made a video like predicting what was going to be in the story of the second game, and don't watch that video because now it'll spoil it. But let's just say that at least the main gist of what I was talking about in that video might have been right, which was just pretty cool. So yeah, don't watch that video now because it'll spoil the game. And hopefully you didn't watch it years ago when I uploaded it and you remember what I said, even though it was like years ago. Now you're watching this and you haven't played the game, even though you're interested in playing it, so you would care about spoilers, but I don't think I have to worry about that, but yeah, I have the issue in a lot of open world games where it feels like all of the like optional open world side content that you do is just like copy pasted all over the world. There's the same like 7 or so like activities or like collectibles or whatever that you do, and they're all the same, they're just in different places, and you know, in terms of gameplay, it's extremely repetitive and it can get boring. That's why I didn't care that much for Ghost of Tsushima. Don't get me wrong, the game was great in some aspects, but I couldn't bring myself to finish it. I wasn't planning on mentioning that in this video. Back when I first played it, I was going to like do a little review of it, since, you know, I kind of have a bit of a history covering Sucker Punch's games, but like, I don't know, I just kind of don't care now. Alright, number 24. Okay, this one is another one with a lot of nostalgia, but it's genuinely a good game. This game is pure fun. It is almost entirely lacking in any difficulty whatsoever, but that's okay, because there's something to this game. It's just charming, it's fun, it's funny, it's awesome. Anyways, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, and this was the first LEGO game, or the first 2 LEGO games technically that are combined in the complete saga. And this was back before they had voices for characters, which I personally think that having the voices in the future LEGO games, I think it made them less funny. Because I think part of the humor from it came from the characters can't talk and they have to try to explain the story through other methods of like visual comedy. It was great. This game was fun to play as a kid. It's fun to replay now. It's fun to go back in the levels after you've played them in story mode with like new characters to try to like unlock all of the secrets in them. There's some really good creativity from how they took the content of the movies and turned it into the like LEGO version of it. The gameplay feels really fun. It's really, really fun to play with a friend who's playing as some other character, and like you can also switch between like which of the characters in the story you're playing as and which ones you want to be. When you're playing as a friend, you can beat up your friend and kill them for no reason, because it's just stupid and fun. One thing that I will say, if I had to talk about negatives, vehicle levels are just not as good as the levels where you control like normal like walking characters, but they're not bad. They're just not nearly as good. So yeah, this game is really fun, and I talked about it some, but I really like the element of replaying levels with other characters to try to unlock things, and I really like how they go about doing that. It's fun. It doesn't get boring over time. Like each level is different with what it has in it, and there's lots of hidden secret like funny little things in there. And the other game I have been playing recently is LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, which you can probably tell if you were watching my live streams and all that. And the game is simply just perfect. And by that, I don't mean it's literally perfect. I don't think anything can be literally perfect, but in terms of what I was expecting from the game and what it gave me everything I wanted and more. As you guys know, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I'm also quite a big LEGO fan. LEGO shit I've built in videos before, and there's the Razor Crest from The Mandalorian. Some stuff up there you probably can't see, and like my Stranger Things and all that. But yeah, as a Star Wars and a LEGO fan and a fan of LEGO Star Wars The Complete Saga when I was a lot younger, the game really delivered. It was a lot of fun. It has gameplay that's much more modern and advanced for a LEGO game, but it doesn't take away from like that carefree, fun, like pretty much no challenge aspect of the LEGO games. And there's so much detail that the developers put into it. Like way more than I would have expected, and there's like open world areas on like 20 different planets or something, and there's like 400 characters or something that you can unlock. It's just insane. And the amount of like extra like open world content that you can do to like collect all these Kyber bricks is so much that I don't think I'm going to do all of it, but it's nice that it's there because, you know, the game is just a lot of fun, and it's really silly too. I like how they've embraced that same sort of goofy, cartoony humor that the Complete Saga did back in the day. Okay, so now the games I'm going to be talking about are like actually my favorite games. I just wanted to catch you guys up on the 2 games I've played in like the last year. Okay, so first I just want to talk about Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog has been one of my favorite developers for a long time. They just make, you know, really fun action-adventure games with great stories. And as my taste in games has changed over the years, I've become a little bit skeptical of the Naughty Dog formula and how oftentimes their games lean more towards trying to be cinematic rather than using gameplay to tell their stories, which I think is kind of not a good thing when it comes to video games, because like you should utilize the like unique properties, is that the right way to say it? The unique aspects and techniques of the specific art of the medium that you're using to tell a story. And Naughty Dog games oftentimes just tell stories in the way that a movie would, but then you can play sections in between, kind of. For the record, I do think Naughty Dog games have gotten better over the years with kind of merging story and gameplay and getting more creative. I'm really interested to see what they'll do next. I know they're working on remaking The Last of Us 1, I think, to have gameplay that's more similar and has like the depth of The Last of Us Part 2, which would be really great. But after that, I would really love it if they made a new IP and if they tried to do something kind of dramatically different with their gameplay. I mean, they could still have third-person action, which is kind of just what they're used to doing and what they're good at doing, but in terms of how they tell their story, I really want to see them evolve and do something really, like, innovative. All right, number 34. This one is a little more well-known. Here we go. First Uncharted game that we have on the list. Alright, why is Uncharted Drake's Fortune one of my favorite games of all time? It's because the adventure and how Naughty Dog blended telling a cinematic story through fun, action-packed gameplay. I'm just gonna talk about the story first. Man, the characters are great, just fantastic. Nathan Drake, Elena Fisher, Victor Sullivan, everyone knows these characters. This is the game they were first in. This is where they come from. The drama between the characters and the development and the relationship that grows between Nate and Elena, it's done perfectly. I'd say, like, in some ways this game sort of has a perfect story. But anyways, when it comes to Naughty Dog, there's Uncharted and The Last of Us. They also made Jak and Daxter and like Crash Bandicoot before, but to be honest with you, I haven't played any of those games, so yeah. Uncharted is a series that, for me, it's very nostalgic, almost. Within the first few years of me even becoming a gamer, Uncharted was one of the series that I ended up just playing the most and really liking a lot. And I don't know exactly what's there to be said that hasn't been said already, but it takes the formula of the Indiana Jones movies, the action, the treasure hunting and all that, just this like kind of like pulp adventure tone, and it puts that into a video game where you get to play through the action scenes, and in my opinion, it has better characters than Indiana Jones. Or rather, maybe a better way to put it would be that the strength of Uncharted, when you compare it to Indiana Jones, is that the same cast of characters keeps coming back for each game. So you really get attached to Nate, Elena, and Sully, and they're able to flesh them out more since they're in each one. That's something that I always thought was like a little bit strange in Indiana Jones is you have Indy and all them, but like all of his sidekicks for the most part are always different. And my favorite Uncharted game is Uncharted 4. I know a lot of people love Uncharted 2. Don't get me wrong, it's great, but I think Uncharted 4 just kind of innovated a lot in terms of what the gameplay was, and also it told a story that was much more mature than the previous games. It was longer too, which longer is not always better. As you know, I've said before about video games. Making a video game long does not make it good, but if the game is really good, then if it's longer, it's kind of nice to have just more content in a way, you know? But I will always say quality over quantity. And then there's the Last of Us series, which I would say for the most part is something I like and I'm interested more in than Uncharted. The Last of Us Part 2 came out in 2020, and right before it came out, I replayed The Last of Us Part 1, I guess we could call it now. And I didn't like the game as much as I remembered liking it, which was kind of sad. The story is absolutely excellent. One of the best video game stories ever told, but the gameplay just really didn't do it for me all the way. Like, it's all right, but when you really break it down, the game like doesn't actually have much of any challenge, because even on the hardest difficulties, your companion characters will like give you ammo and supplies when you need them. So there's really no worry of ever running out, which takes away a lot of difficulty from the game. And anyways, I'm actually, well, I was working on writing a review of The Last of Us Part 2. I think I wrote about 7,000 words of a script for it. So I was pretty serious about it, but that was back in 2020 and like the months after I played the game, and I haven't really worked on it since. I only played the game one time and I'd like to play it again, so if I do, maybe I'll pick up that review again. I don't know, it was gonna be like a really like in-depth thing like I did for Anyways, The Last of Us Part 2 was quite controversial because of some story decisions that I won't mention here because of spoilers, but I fucking loved it. When it was announced that The Last of Us was getting a sequel, I really didn't feel like it needed one, and The Last of Us Part 2 was so good that it changed my opinion on that, and it wasn't what I thought it would be. I thought it would feel kind of forced and be a story that was like too reminiscent of the first game's story and sort of a redo of it in certain ways, or didn't take that many risks, and boy was I wrong. The Last of Us Part 2 I would consider to be probably within my top 10, or at least almost in my top 10 favorite games of all time. The gameplay was significantly better, the story was surprising, it was emotional. In some ways I feel like the story wasn't as good as the one in the first one, but in other ways I feel like the story was more unique and memorable. And yeah, if you didn't like the game, that's fine, I don't really care, but I loved it, and The Last of Us Part 2 is absolutely my favorite Naughty Dog game, and I wouldn't mind a Part 3 now, but I don't need it either. Alright everybody, our next game is about a superpowered hipster living in the American Northwest. That's right, it's Life is Strange. What? Did you think it would be some other game? I don't know what other game you're talking about. or why you would think that game would be on my favorite games list. What? What am I talking about? Alright, I gotta mention BioShock. I haven't played BioShock in quite some time, but I have played it multiple times in the past. Just a really fucking fun game to go around in the levels that are sort of Metroidvania style, is that right? I don't know if that's the correct terminology, because I've never played Metroid or Vania. Castlevania, I think. But, you know, where like each chapter of the game is this level that has kind of branching paths. You'll go back and forth through it in a way that's almost open world, but it's not open world because it's not very open. It's like a bunch of different corridors and you like explore and find things. I really like that type of game design, and the story is really fascinating. Shit, I have this weird feeling now, like I don't even know what this video is. Like, what am I even making right now? Like, am I just making this to list off games I like and vaguely talk about them? Or that's a drill. Okay, thanks, Dad. Or is this video meant to showcase these games, to like recommend them and like explain what they are? Because I'm not really explaining what they are very well now, am I? So BioShock is in this underwater city that a crazy libertarian built, and everything like went wrong. It's like this sort of like failed paradise thing. It's like a little bit of horror in there too. It's a first-person shooter, but you also have these, I forget what they're called because it's been fucking forever since I've played it, but you have these magical fucking powers where you like shoot fire and ice out of your hands and shit. My channel's a joke. But yeah, the story's like philosophical. The game's like, it's just fun. Alright, speaking of philosophical stories, Nier Automata. Now, I've talked about Nier Automata a little bit in the past in my Game of the Year 2017 video, so I don't want to get into it too much here, but a really unique and strange philosophical story about robots who are kind of becoming human, and about like life and death and like the meaning and purpose of things. And it's also just a super fun like hack and slash game. It's a really creative game in terms of how you play it, because it's like a bunch of different action genres mixed together into one game. Because there's like top-down segments and like side-scrolling parts and like parts where you fly a ship thing, then parts where you just do like a bunch of melee and third person, and it's really incredible, and I would like to replay it at some point. Maybe even make a video about it, but I probably won't, because I don't make videos that much anymore. Okay guys, on to the next game, and I'm sorry that I tricked you with Life is Strange, you know, making you think that it was some other game, but this next game is also a superhero game. Are you ready for it? A superhero game about stopping a plague before it dooms the world. Yeah, the plague that is Joker's blood, because it's infected with the Titan formula, and he wants to spread it to hospitals, and he's dying, and he puts his blood in Batman, so Batman's dying too, and there's this like really good ticking clock element. Alright, next game I want to talk about are the Portal games. These are probably not top 10 favorite games, they're probably top 5 favorite games for me, or something like that. I didn't rank these, okay? Except on Letterboxd I did, but I forgot how I ranked them there, so it doesn't matter. Not Letterboxd, fucking Chungus Box. I think pretty much everyone knows what Portal is, but it's a puzzle game where you have a gun that shoots portals. You can shoot 2, you go through one, you come out the other, you solve puzzles with like buttons and shit. And it's a lot of fun. It's one of the most like unique game mechanics I've ever played, and there's a lot of great humor in it, and the story's actually kind of just interesting even besides the humor, which in a way is kind of like the main point of it. Super fucking fun. Alright, other puzzle games. Inside is like perfection. Like when I said that the new Lego Star Wars game is basically perfect and that like nothing can ever actually be perfect, forget I said that, because I think Inside is actually like probably just perfect. Like the game is only 2 or 3 hours long, which is something we need more of. There's way too many long ass games that I just don't have time to play, and like I just want to play something short that's really good at doing what it does, and that's what Inside is. It has puzzles that are like really well thought out and fun to do, and it has a story that uses no dialogue. Also, the game has no like tutorial text. It never tells you what to do. It just leads you to figure out what to do. Because I mean, the gameplay mechanics are pretty simple, and I just like how the game dumps you into this world, and then you start figuring things out, but then you also don't, because the story is this really weird mystery where you're not really sure what's going on, but the whole experience is great. It's so atmospheric with just the music and the moody, creepy visuals and everything. Inside is actually, I think, like probably a perfect game. I wouldn't say it's my favorite game of all time, just because there's games like I enjoy a little bit more than it, but in terms of best quality game of all time, maybe I would say that Inside is. I don't know. That's like a really like subjective thing, and like I don't even know how I judge that, so I don't care. Similar to Inside is Little Nightmares 2. It's also another one of these like 2D platforming, creepy mystery puzzle games, but it doesn't feel like it's copying Inside too much. It's definitely inspired by it. And also, for the record, the first Little Nightmares is good, but I didn't love it the way that I loved the second one. There's some great puzzles that also take inspiration from Portal in some parts, and it does the type of thing I was talking about with Inside. It does that, not quite as well as Inside, but it is really interesting. I just like the feeling of discovery and how fun all the puzzles are, and the fact that the game is really short. I feel like I'm not much of a game critic anymore, so I'm just like kind of saying shit. Okay guys, this next game is a superhero game, and okay, I'm sorry that I tricked you guys twice already with saying, oh, it's a superhero game, it's gonna be infamous. Okay, it was kind of cheap that I did it twice. It was kind of funny the first time. I promise I won't do it again. This next game is a superhero game about a hero being trapped in a prison. Batman Arkham Asylum is a fantastic game.
Video games, you passed me a note, sleeping intense, it's nice to have a friend.